I didn't want my real estate license. Honestly, I didn't think my career in real estate was even going to get this far. But I knew if I wanted to take my career to the next level and build confidence in myself within this industry, I needed to commit. So after a couple of failed attempts, I buckled down and secured my real estate license. My life, it was forever changed. Transaction Care, the podcast. Welcome home to the #1 real estate show on the market. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. My goal with each episode of Transaction Care is to demystify the business of real estate from my point of view and interviews from other voices within the real estate industry around the world. I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Welcome back. Another episode. We are talking all about the real estate exam. Yes, testing, not my strong suit. I'm getting better. In fact, I need to get better because at this stage of my career, it is my 5th year as an entrepreneur, as a solo transaction coordinator running my own business. I have decided to get my real estate license in another state. Where, you may ask? Well, you're just going to have to follow the podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel, TC with Lily, a day in the life of a real estate transaction coordinator. I will be documenting that new journey, mostly on my YouTube channel, a little bit here on the podcast as well. So definitely stick around for that journey because, as you will soon find out at the end of this podcast, testing really isn't my strong suit. So the thought of starting this whole journey all over with a whole different state, new material, new knowledge, it's a bit overwhelming, which is why I wanted to do this podcast and help anyone out there interested in getting their real estate license or considering getting their real estate license in another state or multiple states. So let's get into today's episode. So the first thing you want to find out is, what state do you want to be licensed in? For clarification, there isn't just one test for the whole United States of the real estate market. There is one test for each state. So for anyone considering getting their license in California, you must take the California state license exam. Same with New York, Texas, Florida, etc. And for continuity purposes, I'm just going to be talking about getting a real estate license within the United States of America. For any of my international listeners that want to educate my audience on how to get licensed in, say, Canada, Mexico, any countries within Europe, Asia, let me know. I'm down to have that conversation because I also would love to learn. So next step, you know exactly which state you want to get licensed in. What do you do next? Well, you want to find out what that state requires in terms of education. There are so many different courses and study groups and classes available online for you to take and learn, but the key to doing this right is making sure that the courses you take are verified and agency-approved real estate schools. Most, if not all, state websites will have the .gov ending to know that you are in the right spot. So when you're doing your research, you want to make sure that you check out the agency-approved real estate schools. Otherwise, you could go through a whole semester or years of studying and taking courses, and then when it comes down to applying for your license, you may get rejected. And that's something you do not want to experience or have to start all over, because it can be discouraging, deflating, and honestly just ruin this whole process for you. So to help you avoid that, make sure you go directly to your state's website and find out how to get a real estate license through your state's website, and make sure that it's an agency approved real estate school. Quick note, you definitely have to be 18 years or older, have a high school diploma, GED, or international equivalent in order to get your real estate license. So just keep that in mind. If you are under 18 or you don't live here or you haven't graduated from high school yet, you may not be able to get your real estate license until you achieve those things. There may be loopholes or exceptions, but you have to do your own research and due diligence. I don't make these rules. Moving along, we've picked our state. We found our verified agency to take our courses. Now let's talk money. How much is this going to cost me? So let's talk about some of the fees and costs that go into taking your real estate exam. So I'm not going to give a breakdown of all 51 states that are out there and what it costs to get a license in every state. As I mentioned earlier, do your own due diligence, do your own research, but I'm going to give you what it is in California so you can get a general idea of what to expect for your state. So let's get into it. At the time of this recording, these prices may have changed, but I just want to give you a general idea of what to expect and to budget for. So first things first, your examination fee, which at this point in time is $60. Your licensing fee, $245, plus a fingerprinting fee, which can range. I don't have an exact price for that. You would have to do your own research, but in total, you're looking at about a $300 charge simply just to get your test taken. That's not including how much your school is going to cost if you decide to go to school in person, online, plus books, tutoring, practice tests, crash courses, all of that considering, you could be spending anywhere up to $1,000 just to start the process. So if you got it, go ahead and drop the bag on getting your real estate license. But if $1,000 is too much for you right now, definitely take some time to budget, reallocate some of your money. Where can you make room to make this work and fit into your lifestyle? Because keep in mind, this is just at minimum, don't quote me, do your own due diligence. We're looking at least $1,000 upfront to start the process. And I definitely don't want to discourage anyone. This is just me being fully transparent, giving you guys the information so you can know what to expect prior to taking your exam, while you're taking your exam, and after you've taken your exam, whether you pass or fail. I've gone through all of this multiple times, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm starting this journey all over again with a whole different state. So definitely listen up until the end so you can hear my story and the breakdown of this whole process. Next up, what I want to talk about is probably the most important part of this whole process, your salesperson examination content, which are all the topics that will be on the exam, what you need to study for, what to expect, and how much of it you need to know. So let me break that down for you right now. This is just a quick overview. I'm not going to get too in depth with the process, but I will put links in the description below for you to review and access and share some of the resources and the websites that I've used to study, to learn more, and to just continue to educate myself on this whole process. So let's get into it. I will continue to mention that every state is different. So these next few topics that I'm going to break down, these next 7 topics I'm going to bring up and break down are, once again, just a general overview of what you can expect on most, if not all, real estate exams. So the first one is property ownership and land use controls and regulations. Next, laws of agency and fiduciary duties. After that is property valuation and financial analysis. After that, financing, then transfer of property. Second to last is practice of real estate and disclosures, includes specialty areas. And finally, contracts. What I love about the California website, the Department of Real Estate, not only lists all 7 of those topics, but they have all the subtopics within that. And there's a lot, but I will just tell you guys right now, it tells us that approximately this percentage is going to be on the exam. So keep in mind, this is just an approximate number. It's not for sure, but in order to pass your real estate exam, you need to at least have a 70% of the questions correct. 70%. That's about a C-ish, right? A C plus. I'm taking a deep breath because I'm having flashbacks. But let's go through these 7 topics in California, what the breakdown is percentage-wise. So out of the whole exam, 15% of it is going to be based on property ownership and land use controls and regulation. Then 17% of the exam is going to be based on laws of agency and fiduciary duties. 14% of the exam is going to be on property valuation and financial analysis. 9% is all about financing. 8% is about transfer of property. 25%, which is a big chunk, is going to be all about practice of real estate and disclosures, including specialty areas. So 25%, you guys. And then finally, 12% of the exam is going to be all about contracts, which Overall, adds up to 100. I didn't do the math, but I'm just going to trust it. And what we want to keep in mind is that we do need at least a 70% to pass. I should have mentioned that in the beginning, but here we are, 10 minutes in. But I also would like to think that you've done your own due diligence. And like I said, this is just for California. I want to assume it's the same way across all states, but again, do your own due diligence and let me know in the comments. Let me know what state you've applied for or you already have your license in, and how much, what percentage you need to pass your real estate exam and be a licensed agent in your state. I would love to know, because I am, like I said, doing this whole process over. Okay, so we have our topics in order. We already know how much it's going to cost us. We've done our budgeting, and we found out what schools we're going to go to and the state we are choosing to get licensed in at this point in time. Now, speaking of time, what is the timeline? Can I just sign up today and go get my real estate license tomorrow? Honestly, I wish. So the answer is a big no. You cannot just sign up today and get your real estate license tomorrow. The process is long. So you definitely have to have patience, discipline, money, because getting your real estate license is not an overnight exam that one can just take because they feel like it. There are time limits in which each course can be considered done. And also keep in mind, some states may have multiple exams. I don't know exactly which states those may all be, but continue to do your research and ask a lot of questions and go through your board of real estate. Those are the most important people that you'll want to get through, because there's a lot of factors that go into getting your real estate license. And one thing I should also mention is that a required background check will be done. So keep that in mind. If you have a record, if there's something that may show up that could prevent you from getting your real estate license, get that all situated beforehand. Call ahead of time and find out, hey, I have this thing on my record. What can I do? I'm in the process of getting my real estate exam, taking my real estate exam to get my real estate license. Please break down the process. Do I need to get a lawyer? Do I need to come to the office directly? What papers do I need to fill out? Handle anything that could affect you moving forward in this process ahead of time. I would hate for anyone to just show up and do all the courses and then get derailed or rejected because they didn't check ahead of time. So if you're hearing this out there and there's something that you think may prevent you from moving forward in this process, just pause and go back a little bit. Call your board directly, call your agencies, call your lawyers, whoever you need to get in contact with to straighten all of this out so that you can move forward and get that real estate license without any hiccups. So for that reason, as well as each state requiring time in between courses and exams being taken, it's important to really be on top of your time management through this whole process. Like I said, you can't just go sign up for the test today and take it tomorrow. Unless you're actually studying in college to get a degree in real estate, the process isn't as long as getting a degree in real estate. It definitely takes time, so keep that in mind, especially the after process, applications being filed and considered and approved. You want to factor in all of that, as well as taking your courses. Most, if not all, states require that you study for a certain amount of hours, which include taking tests, passing practice quizzes, practice tests. So they can guarantee that you are taking this seriously. They don't want anyone to just come in, buy the books. All right. I mean, you could cheat your way through if you want, but honestly, you're only going to hurt yourself in the long run. And getting in the habit of doing things the way that they are intended will help you in your success in the future. So keep all of that in mind as you are navigating through this whole process. It will not happen overnight. So you will have to dedicate a good amount of time, especially if you have trouble studying, aren't that great of a test taker like myself. I explored all aspects in order to pass this exam. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But to summarize all of this, you definitely want to pick where you want to get licensed, figure out your educational route you're going to take, And if you're going to do this online, in person, a mix of both options are available to you in order to complete this part of the process. And then you also want to consider the cost, budget this into your lifestyle, and study the topics that are going to be on the exam. Just because 25% of the exam is going to be about disclosures and real estate practices, it doesn't mean you should ignore the other topics. Study each topic equally and give just the right amount of attention to each of them, because it's going to be a mix of questions that really could blindside you if you don't study, if you skip a topic. So definitely invest time into studying every topic equally and learning everything inside and out. Finally, you want to consider the timeline of this whole occurrence. All of it based on your own lifestyle, the way you study, the way you learn things, the required hours that must be put in to study before you can move on to each course required by your state. So with all of that in mind, including when you're going to schedule your test, when it's available, the location of your test, it could be outside of your city and you have to make a trip of it, or make this a traveling thing where you have to drive or fly somewhere. All of that considered. Also, that factors into your costs, and you want to do all your research ahead of time so you know what to expect as it gets closer. And as you get to that point where, all right, I did my courses, now I know I have to do this next, and you're ready and prepared so you have less stress on you when you go take that exam. A few study tips that I can offer, honestly, is simply to commit. Really commit. Find the discipline in this activity. Make it fun for yourself. Make it as easy for yourself as possible. If you're someone that learns in person better, go take the classes in person. For me, I did classes in person and online. I found doing a mix of both was best for me and my brain, my study habits, the way I learn. And I also took advantage of the fact that I had people in the class to ask questions, to study with. I, did this alongside someone I was friends with in the past, and we both committed to this whole process and went in it. We went to Saturday courses, we went to night school. You have to find what works best for you. And then as you're studying, you want to create a safe space for yourself to where there are little to no distractions. I went to my parents' house, stayed in the guest room, and just locked the door for 2 whole weeks leading up to my exam. And the only reason I say 2 weeks is because I had failed my exam prior to that. So I had already done the months and months of studying, the courses, the night school, the Saturday school. But I was so insecure about passing that I said, I'm just going to go in and take this test and see how it is, so then I could retake it later with more confidence. Your confidence isn't guaranteed if you're not putting in the work. And the fact that I put in all of that work and still didn't believe in myself, I look back and I'm not disappointed because everything worked out the best way possible. But at the same time, it's like I self-sabotaged myself and I got in my own way. And imposter syndrome was leading and I wasn't. So don't go through all of this. I suggest, do you? But I suggest to go through all of this with the most confidence and most self-confidence you can have, and believing that you're going to do great and you are going to pass because you studied. I downloaded apps, anything that was related to real estate. I downloaded apps. I was on YouTube. Shout out to YouTube University. I read every chapter of every book as best as I could, as thoroughly as I could. I took notes. I had flashcards. I was pinning notes on my walls. I was just fully immersed in everything real estate. I took practice quizzes. I took practice tests multiple times, not just once. I always like to say I failed my real estate exam 3 times, because the first time when I was working at an office, the owner of the company wanted all of his staff to be licensed. And, he's like, we'll pay for it. It's not a big deal. You just got to go do the courses and take the test. I was like, that sounds easy. I was really young. I was like 19 or 20 years old. fresh into adulthood, right? And I started the tests immediately. I was like, nope, this isn't for me. This is just a part-time job. I want nothing to do with it. Fast forward a few years later, I took it more seriously. I couldn't believe I was still working in real estate at that point. But my self-confidence just shot down to the ground as I got closer to that exam. And I think the part that I was missing was just more prayer, affirmations, journaling, just talking to someone and getting advice and comfort versus just kind of isolating myself. So yes, I say to, find a space for yourself to study and to have that dedicated area of just quietness and less disruption. But it's also okay to step out of that for a little bit and go hang out with friends, go talk to family, go out to your favorite restaurant or go to a party, whatever you need to do that is something different for that moment. It could be for one night, it could be for 5 minutes, it could be one whole day that you take off and you just don't talk about anything real estate. You need that reset. You need that pause for a little bit. But I understand if you are fully immersed, like I was in those last 2 weeks leading up to my retake, I didn't even tell anyone that I was retaking it, other than I think my mom, because she was around me. I was at her house at the time. No one knew when I was retaking it. No one knew where I was retaking it. And I needed that just for me. I needed to hold that space for me to just really focus in and believe, stay encouraged, and not let anything interfere, distract me, or discourage me from getting this done. And it was that moment I passed my real estate exam, when I ultimately just committed everything into getting this done. And I was so grateful. When you pass the exam, they don't tell you what your score was. You just know that you need at least a 70% or higher. So I'm assuming I got 100%. I still don't know to this day. It's been over 5 years since then. I renewed my license. But I just had a feeling going into it. I felt more relaxed. I got there 2 hours early, got breakfast, prayed, zenned out, meditated in the car, found good parking. That's another factor you want to consider is, does the testing location have parking? Is it free? Is there somewhere to eat? Do you have water? Did you drink enough water? Is there a restroom? All of that. There's so many little things you have to consider. But leading up to it, you definitely want to have all your affairs in order. Like I said, down to your background check. If there's anything that's suspicious or you think may be unresolved, just go check on it. It won't hurt, especially when this is your future that's in your hands. 5 minutes of just cleanup, doing your due diligence, your research, putting in the time and the effort to clean up some history, a little bit of some messes is going to impact the rest of your life. And I'm grateful that I tried again and that I didn't give up even after I failed or when I wasn't even confident in myself to take the exam again. And I knew from that point on that my life was going to change forever. And my life was forever changed the moment I passed my real estate exam. I felt so good. I was excited. And I just knew, I didn't know what was ahead, but I just knew. I felt that shift. Something in me, it was almost like that feeling when you push in a puzzle piece into this huge puzzle. And it's like this puzzle piece that you've been looking for at least 10, 15 minutes, or maybe you just stopped for the night and gave up and came back the next morning. You knew it was there. You just had to come at it with a different lens, a different point of view, and not consider that a failure and not get too down on yourself or, get angry. I took the L. I failed, but I got back and tried it again. And I have no regrets. None at all. Was it difficult? Absolutely. Did I struggle? Absolutely. Did I cry? So many times. I still cry about this working in real estate every day. Okay, maybe not every day. But if this is your journey, if this is your purpose, if this is your path and you feel pulled into this real estate industry, I highly recommend getting licensed. Even if you take a job that doesn't require being licensed, but you're going to be in real estate longer than a couple of years, longer than 5 years. If you're thinking long term, just get the license. It will create more opportunities for you. It will open more doors. It will help you to stand out when you're applying for jobs. Does everything you study in the books apply in your career in real estate? It may not. Do you forget most of the stuff you read? 100%. Which is why when I talk about timelines, the timeline of this whole process is ongoing. The cost of things is ongoing. Because once you pass, it's up to you to decide, okay, am I going to just keep my license and be an agent so I can, read and write contracts and, maybe be a personal assistant to someone or a transaction coordinator? Did I just want this to fulfill something that I've always wanted to do and now I'm going to move on and go do something completely different? Or am I going to take this to the next level and become a licensed realtor? Keep in mind, a licensed agent and realtor are two different things. Did you know that? That's something you will learn all about as you study for this real estate exam, that being a realtor and an agent are two different things. By law, they're two different things. Two jobs that require two different responsibilities. And once you cross that threshold into becoming a realtor, now it's time to consider where you're going to work, what you're going to do with that license. Are you going to be a full-time realtor? Are you going to be on a team? Do you want to work solo? Are you just going to be a referral agent? There's so many different options and ways you can use your license. And that's why I feel like it's so important to be licensed in any area that you choose to work in, whether it's hair, food, music, whatever education you can obtain, any degrees or licenses or certificates. I implore you to do your research and go for it. It's only going to make you more confident. You'll have access to people who have done it, and you can ask them questions. You can build your network. You can create resources for yourself and be that mentor for someone behind you who's coming in behind you. Like, hey, this is how I did it. This is what you should look out for, and just continue to give back. That's the whole cycle. And if you are out there as someone that wants to get their real estate license, I keep saying exam over license, but if anyone is out there interested in taking the exam to get your license, go for it. Take a deep breath, read every question thoroughly. Do not rush through the questions. The exam is timed. It's a total of 150 questions, all multiple choice. You need a 70% or higher, and you do get 3 hours to take the test. So those are just a few things to keep in mind leading up to taking your exam, as you're taking your exam, and after you take your exam. If you have any further questions, please go to the description of this episode. I have linked many resources that can help you in this journey, and just do your due diligence. I'm an available resource to help you and help answer any questions that you may have. I want all of us to succeed, whether you're just starting out or you're considering pivoting in your career. Wherever you're at this point in time, if real estate is on your heart, we're in this together. Experience goes a long way. Put yourself out there once you've passed your real estate exam. Don't be shy. It's okay. You're going to mess up. You're going to fail, but you're also going to win. You're going to succeed. You're going to do great. There will be ups and downs. I'm still experiencing ups and downs. I'm starting my whole real estate journey all over in a different state. On top of the state I'm already practicing in, which is California. And you'll realize that there are levels to this. You may want to get licensed in other states or get certified in other areas in real estate. Keep in mind, all of that is available to you. That concludes another episode of Transaction Care. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, I truly appreciate you. I have an amazing guest coming up on next week's episode. Her name is Jessica Shields. She is an educational psychologist, teacher, coach, author, mother, and we're going to talk all about money, childhood, upbringing, financial literacy, and the importance of talking to our children about money and ways we can teach them about money that doesn't monetize our everyday tasks that we should be doing, like cleaning up the kitchen, picking up our dirty laundry. But financial education and literacy starts in the home at a very young age. And I thought it was an important conversation to also kick off this series of guests that I have coming up on this show. I do not want you guys to miss out. So stay tuned for that episode with Jessica Shields. Check her out at jessicashields.com. But until then, head to transactioncarepodcast.com to join my TC community so you can be in the know when exclusives like my merch are going to be dropping. You can get discount codes, you get downloads, you get access to my store, my digital downloads, access to me. If you want to talk one-on-one, I only share exclusive calendars with my TC community. They are amazing. We are a small bunch, but we are growing quickly and strongly together. And that is the best way to reach me, definitely. And like I said, merch is on the way, guys. Stay tuned. Follow me on all social media so you could see those designs, what's coming up. But most importantly, join my TC community. That is the place to be. That is the place to learn and be up to date before it even hits the podcast, before it hits my YouTube channel, before it hits social media. My TC community knew about this podcast and they got to listen to a preview, I'd say a month before the podcast even dropped. Yeah, that much exclusivity is occurring and going down on those streets. So definitely join my TC community. Link in the description below for quick access so you can get to it right away. You can also go to transactioncare.com to learn about other services that I provide, as well as if you need a transaction coordinator. I am available in California, the Bay Area to be specific, and other parts such as Fresno. So hit the comments up, give us a 5-star rating. It really helps to grow and expand the audience and reach and to talk to people around the world and make sure that this podcast reaches them. It's important that we drop those comments in the comments. And if you have any questions or if there are any topics that you want me to discuss on this podcast, I am open to doing so. And if you want to be a guest on this podcast, just message me. It's the best way to get in contact. Best is to always put transaction care in the subject because I get a lot of emails that are from bots and, the spammery is spamming and I don't like that. The only spam I like is fried in a pan with eggs and rice. So with all of that said, this is another episode of Transaction Care, the podcast. Keep in mind that you are doing amazing. You are on track. You got this. We are in this together. So care for yourself. Care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.